Yo, will this ever stop? Will it ever stop? This Kendrick and Drake situation is going kind of crazy, and I wanted to speak on it from a licensed therapist perspective because I feel like there's some components that we're missing when it comes down to this. Because at this point, it's like tit for tat, like who's winning. I'm seeing a bunch of polls online, like who's winning, but who's actually winning, who's actually losing? Because in my opinion, it's not Drake nor is it Kendrick Lamar. I heard an interview from shout out to Vince Staples. He's been making hella moves. You guys don't know who he is. Um, Hella dope rapper out of Long Beach, California. He's also has his own show on Netflix, so you guys make sure you check it out. I checked out a few episodes, pretty dope. But he made an interesting point that I really want to touch on as well too. I know I made a previous video on my thoughts as far as after the Euphoria diss with Kendrick, but I think at this point, like we really have to have a conversation because it's kind of getting out of hand and it's kind of pointless at this point, in my opinion. Like the whole beef is pointless. But the one thing I wanted to really hone in on is what Vince Staple was talking about. Now we have in the hip hop community, and especially more so in hip hop culture, we have a lot bigger issues to tackle other than watching the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Essentially, there's a lot of different layers that's going on within the hip hop culture, hip hop community, specifically more so for artists. Now, artists that are in bad deals, artists that are, in spaces where they can't really maneuver and be artists per se. And there's a difference between like a rapper and an artist, And a lot of these industries and things of that nature are seeing folks as rappers instead of seeing them as artists because the artistic expression is kind of like gone. One thing that Vince Staples was talking about is breaking down how Universal Studios has this whole thing where people are getting jammed out of the contracts. There's also artists. I'm not sure if you guys ever been on TikTok or social media lately. I know for my some of my posts, I'll have an artist and their music, will no longer be available on TikTok. Why? Because these industries are really dismantling the way music is being served, right? Because if you think about it, even with this whole Kendrick Lamar uh, Drake beef, a lot of you guys have seen the clips on more so YouTube or maybe clips on social media, right? Those are clips that lead you into watching the full video on the platforms such as like this YouTube, right? But if you have to really think about how this is really how this is all really playing into each other, right? Because now we have folks that are um, on TikTok. We have platforms like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram that if you hear a clip or hear a sound, that's your introduction to the music. You know what I mean? Like that's your introduction. Like a lot of you guys didn't go straight to YouTube to see the Drake and you know Kendrick Lamar beef. You guys saw a clip on Instagram or somebody maybe posted like, "Oh, Drake responded," or "Hey, Kendrick Lamar responded," and now you go to the actual YouTube to watch the video. Now what has actually happened, and it's kind of unfortunate, is on the back end, there's a lot of artists that have music that is not able to use those tiny clips to get to the bigger platform, right? So TikTok is one of those platforms where Universal Studios and a lot of other recording artists have actually not being able to express their music or have these clips of like people using their music for their content, which actually, if believe it or not, puts a hinder on the outreach for the actual music. You follow what I'm saying so far? So you have these clips of the music. Now these clips are no longer being able to be served. So artists are actually on the back end not being able to actually, how would I say it, actually be able to expand their music. So how does that tie into the Kendrick Lamar and the Drake beef? Well, it serves again as a distraction, in my opinion. It's serving as a distraction to the bigger picture, like Vince Staples was saying, like it's serving as meaningless and pointless at this point. Hey, like, what if you think Kendrick won or if you felt like Drake won? At the end of the day, like we've never seen a back and forth beef like this, right? Because we thought it was done with Euphoria, then Drake came back, then Metro came back, and again Rick Ross came back, and everybody's making these targets as specifically these targets towards Drake. Um, but at the end of the day, who's really losing, right? At the end of the day, believe it or not, Kendrick's views of his music is up and his popularity, and Drake, is already as popular as they both were, is both up. to start, despite it being a beef or not. Um, but I really feel like we do have bigger issues, in the hip hop culture to address, specifically when it comes to these bad deals and these artists that are suffering from that, especially in this day and age. I saw a gentleman the other day. He had these, like, he was selling like CDs or something like that, and I'm like, he's like, "Hey, buy my mixtape or whatever." It was an older gentleman, he's rapping or whatnot. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, it's 2024. Like, people are getting music in different ways. The CDs may still sell. I'm not saying it won't. I'm not saying it's, I'm not a music industry artist or expert, I should say, but I will say I don't have any CDs. You know what I mean? And a lot of you guys may not have CDs as well too. But my point is with that is, in this day and age, we're getting music by streams. Before it was like streams. And the reason why I say before it was streams, but because now, again, like I was saying before, a lot of our introductions through content. We may hear a song and be like, "Oh, that's a dope song." You think about feel good songs. There was a song by YG Marley, which is, I believe, Bob Marley's grandson. He had a song, and which was pretty dope. And you listen to it, and a lot of people use the clips, and you're like, "Dang, that's actually a pretty cool song." Then a lot of people will go to the actual stream and actually stream the music. Now, again, a lot of companies are not disabling that concept of folks being able to use music through content so that they can lead them to the bigger outcome. Now, I will say with Kendrick Lamar and Drake, you know, I they're both one of my top 10 artists. Me personally, I like Kendrick Lamar a little bit better just because, like, he's from the West Coast, so it's kind of like my own bias. It's a lot of my top 5 or top 10 artists are from the West Coast. Drake is more so, I can't knock Drake's hustle and anything he's done, but I do favor Kendrick a little bit more than Drake, just from a relatable standpoint, I should say. I will say, when it comes down to this, like, these are two great men. These are two men that have actually done really good in the hip hop culture, and to be going back and forth now is like kind of petty. I think the last thing up to date, up to today, which is was today, May 7th, 2024, was Drake responded with the Heartbreak 7 or something. You know, um, we'll see what happens. I just want to hop in here from my perspective, just as a therapist and like looking at the bigger picture, because a lot of times we may not look at the bigger picture of things, especially if things serve us as a distraction. You know, but also too, like, I'm just talking about more music industry. But how many of you guys been keeping up with this beef, but actually like have things that you need to do or accomplish in your life? You know what I mean? Like, it serves as a distraction. So in this video, more so, my point is to understand when we're being served distractions and to be able to, decipher whether or not we need to move further with entertaining certain things or not. Right? Was it amusing? Was it entertaining? Yeah. You know, again, I'm from the West Coast, from California. I see even that they not like us, with the beat with DJ Must. I see a lot of people throwing up the dubs and walking to it and like, hey, this is a groove, right? Um, which is all, it's all dandy. Like, it's no knock against the art or anything like that. But we gotta see when things serve as a distraction and when things don't. You feel me? So if this was serving as a distraction, or if you guys, are looking at things but not looking at the bigger picture, especially when it comes to like the industry or even just in your own personal life, most definitely take a step back and reevaluate, what are you really consuming? You feel me? Like, what is it that you're really consuming that's conducive to your own mental health? Because at this point, even with this, like, I would probably personally say I'm probably not gonna keep up with the beef anymore. Like, it's just it's just too much tit for tat. You feel me? And we're always looking at, like, oh, who's gonna respond? Who's gonna respond? Right. In my last video, I did a segment on, like, was talking about Euphoria, when Kendrick dropped Euphoria, is like the difference between reacting and responding. At this point, there was a point of like, okay, we're responding, but Drake and Kendrick right now, they're just reacting to each other. They're just reacting, 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 which me personally, I don't feel like that's conducive to anything or productive. Most definitely, probably even counterproductive. But when you got two alpha males that going back to back, or going head to head, sometimes that's what you get. Sometimes that is what you get. But I'm ending on this note. Much love to Kendrick, much love to Drake. You know, respect both gentlemen and what they've contributed to hip hop culture. If there can be any type of reconciliation, I would love to see that, as opposed to like, two brothers going back, head to head with each other. That's just my thoughts. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Appreciate y'all tapping in for the live stream. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, do all that great stuff. So to keep these videos going, I'm gonna be dropping some more things coming up. So you guys make sure you guys stay tuned to this. Also, you can subscribe or follow my other pages, which is Terrence Talks Therapy on IG and also on TikTok. Well, I appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. Peace.